LLC, which manages several independent senior communities in the West Metro of Atlanta. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Boyd Austin.
I feel like somebody should play Amazing Grace and ask everybody to file out of the room. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I thank the Chamber for providing this opportunity for the cities to be able to talk about the things that we are doing locally. We are traditionally have been the hubs of activity and innovation in this county and in most of the counties around the state of Georgia. So I'm very pleased for this opportunity. Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you, Corky, for that introduction. Thank you for your friendship through the years, and I'll talk in a little bit about our sewer plant. Stevenson Palmer is our engineer on that facility. They do a great job, and if you ever have a need for anybody, I know there's a lot in the audience. There's plenty of business to go around. They do a very good job for us. My council was introduced earlier. I'd like for them just to stand again, please, and be recognized. And then our staff, our city manager, Kendall Smith, our new city clerk, was took over this year, Tina Clark, our finance director, Sandra Lee, director of our theater and civic center, Emily Shipp, our police chief, Scott Halter, and our marshal, Michael Hester. I think I've got everybody. Corky alluded to it a little bit in his introduction about stability in government. And I am very thankful and very pleased to work with a council and a staff that always displays civility. You know, in my travels in GMA, I know where the problems are, and the dysfunction often comes from people not being able to disagree in a civil fashion. It creates an uproar for the cities, it's turmoil for its people, and we can have disagreements, but we don't have to be disagreeable about it in the process. And I'm very thankful that our staff and our council has always displayed that civility. We have strong disagreements, sometimes on a number of things, but we do not let that be a portrayal of us to the public or interfere with the business that the public has elected us to do. I appreciate the stability. A number have been there for a long time. Last week I had a picture made with employees. I think we had 7 that had more than 20 years of service to the city of Dallas. And that's highly unusual in these times. And we don't have a lot of turnover. And it's because they're committed to their job and the things they're required to do. But it's also because we have made a commitment to them. And we try to follow through on the promises and make sure that they have a living wage and they have an enjoyable workplace and that they have an opportunity to grow in that workplace. And finally, I guess I would add ability. Stability, civility, and ability. All members of the council have either obtained or will in the next session of GMA training obtain their education certificates for at least 42 hours of training. That's another typical example of where I see the difference in cities. Is the cities that are growing and moving forward are active and participate and are expanding their knowledge base. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're going and getting the training amongst a wide array of options, and they bring those ideas that they share with one another, they bring it back locally to use in the city. And it's the same way with our employees. Certified city clerk, our finance officers taking classes. Kendall is always in some class or another. The police department is continually attending advanced training. So they're not becoming stagnant in their position. And they're the people that make this government work, that makes my, quote, part-time job a lot easier for me. And I think it's a good representation for the city of Dallas. And I appreciate my staff and the elected members of the city of Dallas. I've talked to you in the past few years about the state of the city, and a few years ago, I said it was in critical condition, that when the economic collapse hit, that the cities felt the pressure immediately, and that all the experts told us that our recovery would lag from the public recovery. For the first time in 6 years, we've seen solid growth in the tax digest of the city of Dallas. We grew by about 12% over last year. Now, that's a big deal because for years we had been losing our place. It's important to know the history of the digest. Throughout the early 2000s, we grew by about $40 million a year until 2008. Things stopped, and that was our high point at a gross tax digest of $307 million. That's all the property, real and personal, in the city of Dallas. We began to see the decline in 2009, and by 2012, the total value had dropped to $205 million. Fully 1/3 of the digest vanished. Last year we saw a 1% increase. This year we see 12%. That comes not only from annexations and new construction, it also has some basis in the reevaluation of property within the city. Some people don't like to have their property revalued. They complain when their values go up. Well, not me, because the bulk of everything I have and depend on for my future is invested in that house on Confederate Avenue. I want the market to rebound. I want a strong market to grow so that we can once again regain our place and be able to do the things that have been set before us. And in all of this time, our needs have not stopped. People have continued to move to the city of Dallas, and they have continued to demand services that they expect. And I demand that the services be on a par that is with any other city at a standard of excellence, that nobody can judge us against another and encourage somebody to move away or entice them away from the city of Dallas. It's important for our residents and for our businesses. So financially, we're in good shape. A doctor would say we are improving. And then you'd probably say, you look at the other vital statistics. And you've heard me time and again, if you've been in this room, talk about live, work, play environments. And I think that's what sets a city apart from other cities or from unincorporated areas. That is the new example of modern urbanhood or modern cities. And it's taking place all across Georgia and all across the country. Atlanta is seeing an infusion of new residents. They're attracted by things like the Beltline and the trolley. They're looking for in-town housing and restaurants and entertainment. They need good schools. That's one thing that sets us apart is our school system. So when you look at the live, work, play environment, it happens not only in Atlanta, it's happening in Cedartown, Georgia. Look at Rockmart, what they've done, what an investor has done in purchasing those buildings. Another example is Dublin, Georgia. My great friend Phil Best is the mayor there. He has sold their longtime family home and moved into a loft apartment in downtown Dublin and is having the time of his life. That is the future of our cities, and that's what we will work towards in Dallas to do, is to be able to provide the environment where all three of those areas are exceptional and people can thrive. As for the live part, we want people to be able to live here, as is evidenced by a growing population and new home starts and sales. 10 years ago, I might not have even blinked at 31 new housing permits. This year, it's a big deal. Times have changed. That might have been a month, but we're back on the move, and houses are being built and houses are being sold. We want to be a safe city. I don't know if you saw it, but earlier in the year, Dallas was ranked as the 22nd safest city in Georgia out of 532 cities. That's a big deal. It attracts people when they know their families are safe in their homes and their property is safe. A lot of that is due to the excellent work of our police department. That department is rather small compared to other cities around us, but it accounts for about 20% of our budget. And it's the reason I think that we're set apart as a safe city. We are not going to tolerate common crime. We are going to go after it. I know when the chief has to call me with something, he hates to hear what my reply is going to be, because we want to make sure that everybody knows that Dallas is a safe city for them and for their families. Last year, the department handled 10,063 complaints. They patrolled 184,325 miles, or an average of 505 miles a day in the city of Dallas. We added a traffic unit with the advanced tag reader system. Some people have talked about it and say, I don't know if that's fair. Well, let me tell you what, if I have to pay for a tag and insurance, everybody else ought to as well. And we are catching people with stolen cars, people who have not paid for their tags and their insurance, and they're being cited for it, and we're going to level the playing field. We added an additional K9 unit. We had one, we added a second, and it was certified on the first attempt for its national certification. And like I said earlier, members at all levels of the department are receiving advanced training, and we are working to promote them within, to give them a position. We've made 3 new corporals last year, and we're looking at pay as we develop our budget. Another thing that makes us livable is a low tax burden. The average household in the city of Dallas pays less than $30 a month for its government services, like police, emergency dispatch, streets, parks, recreation, etc. I don't think anybody in here has a cable or a cellular phone bill less than that. Probably not even a home phone bill, right, Doc? We want to be a city that values its people and property. Through our Marshals Bureau, we protect the value of neighborhoods and commercial districts through the strict enforcement of our nuisance ordinances. 12 structures have been demolished, and 4 are on the list, and there are more that are going to come down soon. Some of you know who they are. We're not playing. They're going to be torn down. We're not going to get in a fix where we have an area of blight. Many of you today passed the former Right Way store. It has been forwarded to the Court of Appeals. We are fighting the owner of that property. He is an absentee landlord with no respect for the laws of this country and no respect for the ordinances of the city of Dallas. And we're going to fight it as far as we have to go to take that ugly contraption down. It was started without permission, and it has continued to be a blight on the city of Dallas. We are a conscientious city. For a number of years, we have been a city of ethics, and that implies both to its elected officials and its employees. It speaks volumes to people about how we conduct ourselves. And no matter what somebody may assume or some chicken under the cloak of anonymity may say, you come see how business is done. It's done in the open, it's done forthright, it's done according to the law. And that's the way it's going to be done. Recently, we proclaimed the city as a Purple Heart City, and we'll receive that designation very soon to honor those men and women who have been injured in service to this country and have been awarded the Purple Heart. It is a fairly new designation. I think 5 cities in Georgia so far have it, but it will bring special attention and honor, particularly to the residents of this city and county that have given so much for their country. We are conscious of our environment. My service on the water board has taken me all over the state to talk about our water resources and protection of those resources. We also want to be conscious of the environment as far as our litter goes. Last month we began curbside recycling at no additional charge for every residence in the city of Dallas. I think we've got about 30% signed up. We hope we'll have more. You'll be amazed if you don't recycle how quickly you'll fill up that blue can compared to a regular trash can. 65-gallon carts are picked up on a bi-weekly basis. Our street sweepers Somebody said, why does Dallas have a street sweeper? Because everything that's on the street winds up in the storm sewer and then in the creeks and the rivers and the lakes of this state. And we have to meet strict audit requirements, and we're cleaning the streets. Last year we swept 277 miles of the streets. As far as Livable goes, Doris talked about the concept of the LCI, the Livable Centers Initiative. Dallas was the first city outside of outside of the Atlanta region that received an LCI grant. We are in our third phase of it, and that phase will include construction on South Johnston Street, and also very soon you'll begin to see new welcome signs into the city of Dallas at all the major points of entry. We're a community that works. We want to provide jobs for the 70+% of our folks who have to drive outside this county every day for gainful employment. When they leave the county, when it takes that extra hour and a half, or 2 hours going and coming, it's time away from their families and from the civic bodies in which they are engaged. In that note, we have continued our partnership with Paulding Economic Development Organization. We were an original and a continuing partner. We invest $50,000 a year. That organization was created to be non-political and to remove all the strings from it so that people in that business could go out and attract industry and businesses to this county. And they're doing a very good job of it. In fact, last week, a new business was announced for Dallas. Dallas Memory Care. I need it. Who am I? We also are proud of our partnership with the Industrial Building Authority. That authority was created by the General Assembly. It's a constitutionally created authority. It has long been represented by the governments and citizen members of this county, and affords opportunities of bringing business here. The first industrial building built in this county was the location of Simmons Engineering on South Industrial Drive. That was built by the IBA in 1976. And since then, it's had a continuing partnership. The IBA owns Atlanta Film Studios Paulding. We are going to be the home for the new Vacation franchise. There are a lot of Cousin Eddies that are available in the room, so if they need multiple ones, I have some of you pegged. One may be sitting closer than others. But if you read the Atlanta Journal-Constitution yesterday, you saw with the film industry in Georgia now is responsible for 77,000 jobs and growing. It is a growing, dynamic industry, and we have the boutique facility here to accommodate the film industry in Paulding, and we're glad to be a partner in that. We want to be a healthy place to live and work, and we set that example in City Hall. Our employee health and wellness program is now in its 4th year. It's improving the quality of life and the health of our employees. Many of them have lost weight and off their medications, and the byproduct of that is that it decreases the amount we have to pay for health insurance. So it's a win-win situation for all of us. As a place to play, we know that leisure equals the quality of life and time with family and friends. The infrastructure on the dog park at Coleman Camp has begun to be installed. Our Parks and Recreation office continues to extend its programs with the summer day camp. We had over 200 children in swimming lessons this year, and we had 9 baseball teams in our spring league. The theater and civic center hosts drama camp and community theater programs, summer cartoon series and magic shows and things of that nature for children to engage their minds and to give them something to do as a family. Last year, over 200 events were held in that theater. That is my pride and joy. It went from being an old, dilapidated office front to being a gym that people love. And on November the 6th, Representative Micah Gravely and Senator Mike Dugan and Representative Alan Peake will be in Dallas with a number of their colleagues and families for the premiere of Growing Hope. It's the documentary on what medical cannabis oil will do for children to improve their quality of life. And the editorial on that is, when the newspapers say medical marijuana, be aware that it is a medical cannabis oil. It's a drop they put on their tongues. It's something they're doing to save the life, the quality of life for the child and for these families that are ravaged by it. And there are 2 Paulding families that will be featured in that film. So I hope when you get the information on that, you will take the opportunity to come and see it, and that you will also work with these gentlemen to educate yourselves and your friends and family about it. We continue with our fine arts festivals. All those things are happening. Next Saturday, the 11th, is the Paulding Fine Arts Fall Festival. And next Friday night is the Food Truck Friday. We partnered with our Downtown Merchants Association. The first time they did it in August, we had over 3,000 people show up. So they've expanded the number of food trucks and the length of the area that it's taken, and it is a fabulous opportunity to be downtown, great enjoyment, great entertainment. It shows that Dallas is a vibrant place where people can live, work, and play. We've got some big projects. Yesterday I went out and saw the construction of our wastewater treatment plant. We began talking about this in about 2003. And 10 years after the fact, we're finally at the point of construction, an almost $18 million project between it and the transport lines that get the refuse to the wastewater system there. These will replace systems that were built in 1969 and 1972 respectively. It will put cleaner water back into the system, and it will be a great improvement for the city of Dallas. It will give us the opportunity to expand and to reach out for more businesses. Finally, Corky talked about some of the things I do on a statewide and an area-wide basis. And these are items of concern for me, and I think they should be items of concern for everybody. First and foremost, as I move towards leadership of GMA, one of my primary objectives will be to educate people on the issue of tax equity for municipal residents. Taxpayers that live in the cities of this state pay the same taxes as those who live outside it. And we must ensure that either we receive the same services or that we receive some kind of discount for services that are not provided. It is a common problem. Gwinnett has solved it in the courts, and I hope that our leadership in the legislature, as we talk about tax fairness, will certainly take up tax equity. The second area is unfunded mandates. Every day we get something else from another agency that says you need to pay for this. On the state level, the environmental lab costs for the EPD have been shifted back to local governments. Used to, we sent them the samples that they require we take on the time frame they required, and they processed it and told us what the results were. Now they're saying you got to pay for it. We're out of money. Well, either somebody needs to pony up down there or find another way to do it. We should not be saddled with that. On the federal side, we just had proposals from several engineering firms for the least, one of them was $29,000 to assess the impact of the Americans with Disabilities Act compliance on the individual cities. That doesn't include what it's going to cost to fix it. These are things oftentimes that the state DOT and the federal government created, and now they're telling us, you identify it, and then you come up with a time frame to fix it. I didn't sign up for that. Don't send me a bill after the fact for something I didn't order. And then finally, we get to excessive regulations. On the state and federal level, the DOT has hired outside consultants and implemented all kinds of rules that increase our cost and erodes our purchasing power. It delays projects. 5 years ago, I expected to have the City of Dallas Battlefield Park trail open. It's not open. They haven't started construction yet because the DOT's been dragging its rear like a two-legged dog. And outside consultants have spent the money, a good part of the money, and we have nothing to show for it. We have to cut through that red tape and those regulations. And finally, the thing that I want you to take away, and the representatives of our federal representatives and the United States senators will be very familiar with this, is the Environmental Protection Agency has issued proposed rules regarding the waters of the United States. And you think, what does that apply to me? It is an unprecedented expansion of the Clean Waters Act. It will give EPA and the United States Army Corps of Engineers ultimate say-so basically over every project that takes place in any of those areas. If you've got a ditch in a cow pasture that stands in water sometimes, you'll be susceptible. If you've got some wells or some cattle ponds, or you just got a drainage ditch that runs through your property, you may be responsible. You can go to www.ditchtherule.org and find out more information about it. On October the 20th, they will close the comment period. But what it does is it takes away our home rule authority, and it puts the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers in control. Now you can ask David Austin what it's like to deal with the Army Corps of Engineers, because they've been trying to work on a permit for the Paulding Reservoir for about 15 years. And they have no concern for local time frames. It will stagnate growth in this country if we allow it to pass. Those are just some of the things that we deal with. I appreciate your time. I hate to go on. I hate to keep you late. But I think it's important that you are informed and you know particularly the things that will influence the future generations and the future success of our cities. Thank you for your support.